Today, we're diving into a legal case that feels more like a mystery novel. It's got everything: a family argument, a last-minute change of heart, and a lawyer's simple mistake that ended up costing two daughters their entire inheritance. This is the incredible story of White versus Jones. And it all boils down to this one really tricky question. Can you actually sue a lawyer that you never hired? I mean, it sounds like a riddle, right? But the answer, which came from this very case, changed a huge part of the law forever. We're going to unpack exactly how. You know, behind every major court case, there's a real human story. And this one starts with a father, a Mr. Barrett, and his two daughters. They'd had a pretty serious falling out. So serious, in fact, that he had written them completely out of his will. But thankfully, things changed. The family made up, they reconciled, and Mr. Barrett, wanting to set things right, called his solicitor, a Mr. Jones, and gave him one crystal-clear instruction. Draft a new will. I want my daughters to get £9,000 each. It was his final wish, plain and simple. Okay, but this is where a simple request turns into a complete legal nightmare. What should have taken a few days, a week at most, spiraled into a fatal delay, and it created what lawyers at the time called a legal black hole. So, look at this timeline. Mr. Barrett asks for the change on July 17th. A whole month goes by. Nothing. So a reminder gets sent. But then, on September 14th, Mr. Barrett unexpectedly passes away. And in all that time, nearly 2 months, his solicitor had done absolutely nothing. The old will was still in place. And that inaction put the daughters in a completely impossible situation. It was a perfect catch-22. First, they couldn't sue their father's estate because the estate hadn't technically lost any money. It just went to the wrong people. But, and this is the killer, they couldn't sue the solicitor, Mr. Jones, either because they didn't have a contract with him. Their father did. They were completely stuck. This legal brick wall has a name: privity of contract. It's a fundamental rule. Think of it this way. Say your neighbor hires a roofer and that roofer does a terrible job. You can't sue the roofer, right? Because your contract wasn't with them. Well, that's exactly what happened here. The contract was between Mr. Barrett and Mr. Jones. Legally speaking, the daughters were just outsiders. So what do? You have this clear, undeniable injustice, but the law says there's no way to fix it. Well, the daughters, led by Carol White, decided to fight. They took their case all the way to the highest court in the land at the time, the House of Lords. This was about more than just money now. It was about what's fair. And this put the judges in a really tough spot. I mean, what do you do when a clear wrong has been committed, when everyone can see that the solicitor was negligent and the daughters lost out? But the rule book, the existing law, doesn't give you a way to provide a remedy. What's the court's job in that situation? So the judges had a choice: stick to the strict letter of the law, even if it led to an unfair result, or find a new way forward. Well, they did find a solution, but wow, it was not an easy decision. It turned out to be one of the most debated rulings in modern legal history. Just look at how close this was. The final judgment was a 3-2 split. I mean, razor thin. The top legal minds in the country were literally divided. 2 of the judges said, nope, the rule of privity of contract is sacred. If we bend it here, we open the floodgates. But the other 3, well, they felt that a common sense injustice like this one just couldn't be ignored. And the leader of that majority, Lord Gough, summed it up perfectly with this powerful line. He said, "The law must provide a remedy for such a plain injustice." In other words, what's the point of having laws if they can't deliver a fair outcome in a situation as straightforward as this one? So what was their clever solution? Well, instead of just blowing up the whole privity of contract rule, they did something a bit more subtle. They said that a solicitor's professional duty of care, their basic responsibility to do their job properly, doesn't just apply to their client. They decided to extend that duty to the people the client was trying to help, in this case, the daughters. And just like that, a new duty of care was born. This decision left a massive legacy, one that affects solicitors and families to this day. So let's break down what this new principle they created actually looks like. It's pretty straightforward, really. You can think of the White v. Jones principle as a 4-step test. 1. The person making the will clearly intends to give you something. 2. Their solicitor messes up and fails to do it. 3. The person making the will passes away, and you lose out because of that mistake. 4. Now, thanks to this case, you can sue that negligent solicitor directly. The legal black hole was finally closed. So why are we still talking about this case today? Well, because it does so much. It protects the last wishes of our family members, it makes sure legal professionals are held accountable, it creates a path to justice for people who would otherwise have no options. But maybe most importantly, it's a perfect example of how our law isn't just static, it can actually evolve to fix an injustice. And that leaves us with one last big idea to think about. The judges in this case decided to bend a very old established rule to get to what they felt was a just result. It really makes you wonder, when should the law be allowed to break its own rules to do the right thing? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide?